Hello everyone, my name is Rob, welcome to Kinetic Rugby League, and this is my NRL Round 20 tips and predictions video. So let's get started. Kicking things off with the Knights at home against the Tigers, and starting with the Knights, they currently sit in 14th place on the ladder. Their form is 2 wins in the last 5, and their home record is 4 wins and 3 losses. They're also on a bye last week. In terms of squad availability, Dane Gagai is expected to be fit this week, and possibly Heimel Hunt as well. In terms of Origin players, they'll have Best and Saitifi coming back after Origin this week. In terms of percentage stats, they have a 38% win rate, 74% completion rate, and a tackle efficiency of 88%. Moving on to the Tigers, they currently sit in 17th place on the ladder. Their current form is 0 wins in the last 5, and their away record is only 1 win and 6 losses. They also lost to the Sharks last week. In terms of their squad availability, Laurie, Naden and Norfoluma are all to be confirmed this week, but they have no Origin players coming back, so no injury worries there. In terms of percentage stats for the Tigers, they have a 19% win rate, 75% completion rate, and a tackle efficiency of 89%. For me, this one's pretty straightforward. I do think that the Tigers are capable of scoring points. They've had some decent weeks here and there, and the Tigers are certainly prone to getting caught out. They haven't been perfect themselves this season. They're only 14th in the table, so I do think the Knights, however, they've got that killer instinct in them. I know we saw that with the Tigers against the Cowboys, especially a few weeks back, and we saw it with the Knights a few weeks back against the Bulldogs, but I feel like the Knights have that potential where they could take over any game. They could challenge anyone in the top 8 on like their best day. They could challenge anybody, but it's just the consistency. Like it's within their squad. They have the talent in the squad for the Knights, but it's just not been that consistent. But compared to the Tigers, it's miles above. So I do think, given the injuries that the Tigers are still having to face, they might not have Laurie or Naden or Norfoluma. Some of them might feature. Still no Staines, no Dewey, no Brooks. So it's going to be a tall order for the Tigers. Stranger things have happened this season, but I'm feeling a very comfortable Knights win, so that's the way I'm going to lean. So I'm going to go with the Knights to win 13+. Next up, we have the Bulldogs at home against the Broncos, and starting with the Bulldogs, they currently sit in 15th place on the ladder. Their form is only 1 win in the last 5, and their home record is 3 wins and 6 losses. Also won last time out against the Rabbitohs. In terms of their squad availability, Ryan Sutton is the only player that's to be confirmed this week on the injury list, and Josh Adokar will be back after State of Origin. In terms of percentage stats for the Bulldogs, they have a 35% win rate, 75% completion rate, and a tackle efficiency of 86.3%. Moving on to the Broncos, they currently sit in 2nd place on the ladder. Their form is 4 wins in the last 5, and their away record is 7 wins and 1 loss. They're also on a bye last week. In terms of their squad availability, we might see Kurt Capewell. He's either back this week or next week. Haas, Flegler, Walsh and Ricky will all miss out this week. Patrick Harrigan will be coming back from State of Origin. In terms of percentage stats for the Broncos, they have a 71% win rate, 77% completion rate, and a tackle efficiency of 87.2%. So last week I predicted the Bulldogs to beat the Rabbitohs. My voice is absolutely gone. This is this is dreadful. I predicted the Bulldogs to beat the Rabbitohs last week, and the main reason was because there were so many key players missing from the Rabbitohs. Their spine was basically, the only key player from this whole season so far was Lachlan Ilias, and I basically mentioned that he doesn't have that takeover ability. He can't really run a game, and he didn't even have players like Campbell Graham to sort of help him, or Keane Kalamatangi to be part of that right edge attack as well. So the difference being that Adam Reynolds typically attacks down the right hand side. Even if Jordan Ricky is missing, you still have Kotoni Staggs available there, or Selwyn Cobbo further out wide, unless he plays fullback. In terms of the left-hand side, Kurt Capewell might feature. If not, he's expected back the following week. If he doesn't play, Ezra Mam typically plays down the left-hand side, and you've still got Herbie Farnworth there, and Oates or Pereira, depending on who plays. So for me, Mam and or Reynolds are both better players than Ilias in terms of their ability to take over games and have those big moments. I don't think they require teammates as much as Lachlan Ilias does. So that's the reason why I think the Broncos will be okay. Now, in the forwards, they're extremely light, and this is a great opportunity for the Bulldogs to beat them through the middle, especially Reid Marnie might absolutely eat up the Broncos through the middle. He might have a field day, so I do think the Broncos can absolutely challenge. I just felt that there was a bit of overall weakness with the Rabbitohs. I still feel like, even with the key players missing for the Broncos, they've still got enough in there. So I think it will be somewhat similar to how it was last week for the Bulldogs and the Rabbitohs, but I think the Broncos have more in them to keep it going. But I will say, we don't know what kind of influence that Toby Sexton's had over that locker room so far and over the team. I imagine it's a huge change for them. It's massive. He is, a good professional in the NRL. So I do think it'll be a close game. I think it'll be a very close game. So I'm going to go with the Broncos to win 1-12 points. Next up, we have the Seagulls at home against the Cowboys, and starting with the Seagulls, they currently sit in 10th place on the ladder. Their form is 2 wins in the last 5, and their home record is 5 wins and 3 losses. They were also on a bye last week. In terms of their squad availability, Tom Trbojevic is still the only player that's on the injury list, so that's, I guess, a good thing overall for the Seagulls. But he is, of course, out for the season. Jake Trbojevic and Daly Cherry-Evans will be back after Origin. And in terms of percentage stats for the Seagulls, they have a 44% win rate, 77% completion rate, and a tackle efficiency of 87.2%. Moving on to the Cowboys, they currently sit in 9th place on the ladder. Their form is 4 wins in the last 5, but their away record is 2 wins and 6 losses. They were also on a bye last week. In terms of their squad availability, there are no new injury concerns for them, but they do have Robson, Drinkwater, Holmes, Tuolagi, Cotter, Nanai, and Dearden all coming back from Origin next week, so hopefully they all come back injury-free. In terms of percentage stats for the Cowboys, they have a 53% win rate, 80% completion rate, and a tackle efficiency of 86.4%. So I've been asking myself this question the last couple of days, and I'm just wondering whether the Cowboys are back. And I think maybe the best way to answer that question is overall, no, but on recent form, yes. So if you look at their recent form and how they played, they do look like the team from last season. Over the course of a season, they're not the same team because they've had their inconsistencies. I still think this team is prone to losses that they shouldn't have. But the last couple of weeks, they've looked fantastic. Now, one issue for both these teams, I think it's going to be worse for the Cowboys, is the fact that, they both were on a bye, so there's more time for preparation, but that preparation for the Cowboys is going to be without Drinkwater, Dearden, and Robson. Now, you do have Townsend, who I think is an excellent player, but you look at the flip side for the Seagulls, yes, they'll have no Cherry-Evans, but that's one spine player missing from preparation. And I do think that if you look at the 3 spine players for the Cowboys compared to the one for the Seagulls, the one for the Seagulls, I feel, is best at just fitting straight in. You could put Cherry-Evans in any team, I think he'd flourish immediately. Because of his ability to control games, he can do it immediately. So I think that's a real positive for the Seagulls, is that they've only got Cherry-Evans to kind of come back in for a couple of days, whereas they need to get the rest of the Cowboys squad of integrated as soon as possible. And there is the possibility of injuries as well, with so many players playing in Origin. Dearden, I believe, is a reserve at the moment, so of course he might not play, and he could be fresh to go. I think Drinkwater might be in the squad as well. But I do think, I just have this gut feeling about the Cowboys. As much as I've just kind of given some logic to suggest that the Seagulls might be in a slightly better position squad-wise with preparation, I still think there's such a real positive aura around the Cowboys at the minute. And professionals like Drinkwater comes across as such a elite professional, and so does Dearden, and especially Valentine Holmes as well. I just get this feeling that the Cowboys players are going to come back into the squad, a few days of preparation, and they're just going to absolutely blitz the Seagulls. So that's kind of how I'm feeling about it. So logically, could lean towards the Seagulls, but the Cowboys, I've just got that gut feeling. So I'm going to go with the Cowboys to win 13+. Next up, we have the Roosters at home against Melbourne Storm, and starting with the Roosters, they currently sit in 13th place. Their current form is 2 wins in the last 5, and their home record is 5 wins and 3 losses. They're also on a bye last week. There it goes again. In terms of squad availability, Turpin, Billy Smith, Suwali, Egan Butcher and Walker are all expected to be back this week, so we'll see who is available. Tedesco and Collins are the only players coming back from State of Origin. In terms of percentage stats for the Roosters, they have a 44% win rate, 75% completion rate and a tackle efficiency of 88%. Moving on to the Storm, they currently sit in 4th place in the ladder. They've won 3 in the last 5, and their current away record is 4 wins and 3 losses. They were also on a bye last week. In terms of squad availability, Aaron Penne is the only player that's to be confirmed on the injury list at the moment, and Will Warbrick is expected to be back this round. Munster, Grant and Coates will all be back from Origin this week as well. In terms of percentage stats for the Storm, they have a 62% win rate, 79% completion rate and a tackle efficiency of 87.1%. I think Roosters fans have probably been crying out for Sam Walker to be back the last couple of weeks. They do realise that Joey Manu is not a number 6. I do think Sam Walker shouldn't have been dropped in the first place, because if you see the kind of combinations that he and Keary have had in the past, they're incredibly effective. And Sam Walker's a young player, could really knock his confidence, but he doesn't really come across as that kind of player that would, lose a lot of confidence. He's got that kind of cocky edge to him, I think. So I think if he is available, he'll come back in. This is a big game to kind of really put a marker in, and Suwali being back as well as a key player. So I don't know. It may be a positive for the Roosters if Walker is back in. A little bit more consistency with the spine coming into the final rounds, like the back end of the season, would be great for the Roosters as a potential push for the top 8. But looking at Melbourne Storm, they had a little bit of a dip. They weren't as you'd normally expect. They weren't great, but they weren't awful either. But the last few months, they've really found that consistency. They've found themselves again, and they are back. For me, this feels like a fairly comfortable game for Melbourne Storm. I still think the Roosters can put up points. It's just, I don't know. I don't know what's going on with the Roosters this season. It's not looking good. But having said that, the Melbourne Storm are a great team. I think not too much else to say. Melbourne Storm, I think, is going to run away with this one. So with that being said, I'm going to go with the Melbourne Storm to win 13+. Next up, we have the Warriors at home against the Sharks. And starting with the Warriors, they currently sit in 6th place on the ladder. Their form is 4 wins in the last 5, and their home record is 4 wins and 4 losses. They also won against the Eels last week. In terms of their squad availability, Dylan Walker is the only player to be confirmed on the injury list, and Josh Curran is the only player on the injury list that's expected to be available. There are also no Origin players for the Warriors, so there's no worries on that front. In terms of percentage stats for them, they have a 59% win rate, 78% completion rate, and a tackle efficiency of 88.5%. Moving on to the Sharks, they currently sit in 3rd place on the ladder. Their form is 3 wins in the last 5. Their away record is 5 wins and 2 losses. They also won last week against the Tigers. In terms of their squad availability, Braden Hamlin-Uele is the only player to be confirmed on the injury list, and there are no Origin players to worry about for the Sharks. In terms of percentage stats for them, they have a 62% win rate, 75% completion rate, and a tackle efficiency of 87.6%. For me, this is absolutely the game of the week. The Warriors will go into this as underdogs, but I don't think the Sharks would be heavy favourites on this one. Some people might have them as heavy favourites, like 9 or 10 point favourites. I think that would be over the top. This is one of those where, and I think even Sharks fans will admit that if they're not on top form, if the Warriors come out swinging, the Sharks could be vulnerable. Now, the Sharks are known for their strong defence, and the Warriors have been putting up some good numbers. So there is a possibility of a high-scoring game. I do think that a high-scoring game is possible here, even though the Sharks are strong defensively. I think the Warriors are they're just a different breed this season. Like, they can really put some points on the board, and the Sharks, we know that they can just run away with games. But I don't think the Warriors are going to allow them to do that. Sean Johnson masterclass incoming. Doesn't necessarily mean that I think the Warriors are going to win. I still think you look at the... I think most people would agree with this. The word that comes to mind when I think of the Sharks, in both attack and defence, is discipline. That's the way I feel. Like, it's not like they're sort of locked into one way of playing, though. Like, they have to be this way. It just feels like they know all the sort of attacking structures that they need to sort of flow with, or the defensive structure that they need to sort of lock down with. And there's just that discipline to play exactly how they need to play when they need to play it. So that's just how I feel about the Sharks overall. They've got that discipline, but the Warriors have an edge to them, like a little bit of flair, that just makes them a different breed to how they've been the last couple of years. So I do think that this could be a very back and forth game. Ultimately, I think the Sharks are going to get this one done, but I think it's going to be a hell of a game, easily game of the week, hopefully. So I'm going to go with the Sharks to win 1-12 points. Next up, we have the Dolphins at home against the Panthers, and starting with the Dolphins, they currently sit in 12th place. Their form is only 1 win in the last 5, and their home record is 4 wins and 4 losses at home. They also won last week against the Titans. In terms of their squad availability, Brenko Lee is the only player that's to be confirmed on the injury list. There's also Marshall King and Kafusi, who are both expected to be back this week, and Tabai Fidau is back after State of Origin. In terms of percentage stats for the Dolphins, they have a 47% win rate, 79% completion rate, and a tackle efficiency of 87.2%. Next up, we have the Panthers, who currently sit in first place. Their current form is 4 wins in the last 5, and their away record is 6 wins and 3 losses. They were also on a bye last week. In terms of their squad availability, Sorensen and Ricky are both expected to be back this week, and Nathan Cleary could return this week. It's either this week or next week when he's expected to be back. And they do have Toto, Crichton, Martin, and Yo and Linyu, who are all back after State of Origin. In terms of percentage stats for the Panthers, they have a 69% win rate, 82% completion rate, and a tackle efficiency of 87.9%. I do think this is going to be a real struggle for the Dolphins. I think they'll put up a fight, but I don't think it's going to be, score-wise, I don't think it's going to be close. I think they'll put up some decent numbers, but nothing crazy. And I think that's mainly because of possibly fatigue throughout the Panthers team. However, I still think you look at the creative players that the Panthers will have, and this is even assuming that Nathan Cleary's not going to play. Because typically when it says a player's back, either round, say, 20 or 21, like it does for Cleary, it's never usually the earlier week because the injury's still nagging on them a little bit. So I don't think Cleary's going to play. I still think they'll be fine playing with Cogger or Salmon. Depends who they go with. I'm not fussed either way. But I do think this will be a really strong win for the Panthers. So yeah, I think the Dolphins can put up decent points. But what I'm looking forward to for the Dolphins is getting their full team back together, no origin concerns with Tabai Fidau, get their full team together, and especially the spine of Tabai Fidau, Katoa, O'Sullivan, and Marshall King, and then the Dolphins can start flying again, like they were earlier on. It's really unfortunate that they've had to deal with so many injury issues, and Tom Gilbert's someone who's out for the season. That's awful for them. But they are building something special there. So I think the Dolphins just keep learning. This is a big game, great opportunity to, give it everything you've got at home. Massive game. But I think the Panthers will just be too strong. They've dealt with Origin pretty well over the last couple of weeks and the loss of Nathan Cleary. So I'm going to go with the Panthers win 13+. Finally, for round 20, we have the Eels at home against the Titans, and starting with the Eels, they currently sit in 7th place. Their form is 4 wins in the last 5, and their home record is 5 wins and 4 losses. They also lost last time out against the Warriors. In terms of their squad availability, now I'm going to butcher this name completely. Sam Loizu. Don't know how you pronounce it. Honestly, never heard of him before. I do apologise. He is the only player that's expected to be back from the injury list currently for the Eels. Moses, Campbell-Gillard, Gutherson and Hopgood will all be back after State of Origin. In terms of percentage stats for the Eels, they have a 53% win rate, 74% completion rate and a tackle efficiency of 87.1%. Moving on to the Titans, they currently sit in 11th place on the ladder. Their form is 2 wins in the last 5, and their away record is 3 wins and 6 losses. They also lost last time out against the Dolphins. In terms of their squad availability, Joe Stimson is the only player that's to be confirmed on the injury list. Then you have Brimson, Fasu Malawi, Fafita, and Fotuaika all back after State of Origin. In terms of percentage stats for the Titans, they have a 44% win rate, 78% completion rate, and a tackle efficiency of 85.9%. So for this game, I'm going to apply a little bit of the same logic that I applied for the Seagulls and the Cowboys game, but I'm feeling a little bit differently about this one. So what I mentioned about the Cowboys and the Seagulls was that there are more spine players for the Cowboys in Origin, therefore there's less players to worry about when it comes to preparation for both those clubs. Now, Brimson is one spine player for the Titans, and then you've got Moses and Gutherson as spine players for the Eels. Even though the Cowboys had more spine players missing for preparation, and so do the Eels, I am feeling more towards the Titans. That's because even with Brimson missing during preparation, he's not missing from the game per se, but missing preparation, they still have Jaden Campbell. And they've still got Tanner Boyd and Kieran Foran and Verrills. So I think the Titans are in a good position prep-wise. It was an unfortunate loss against the Dolphins, but I do get the feeling that they'll bounce back. The Eels have looked really good. I'll absolutely give them that. It's just a gut feeling, and if anyone was to go with the Eels, I'd have no doubts over the Eels being able to win this game. It's just a gut feeling over just pure preparation, and the fact that if the Titans weren't as didn't have as much of an edge as they do this season, because they can come out and really damage some teams, and I think people can also admit that the Titans are also a different breed this season to how they have been. They could do some damage, and I wasn't expecting the Eels to lose as badly to the Warriors as they did. Granted, they were missing Moses and Gutherson, etc., but I think logically, I think you could go either way with this. It's just purely gut feeling. That's it. Gut feeling on the Titans. So I'm going to go with the Titans to win narrowly, 1 to 12 points. So to recap my round 20 predictions, I'm going to go with the Knights 13+, Broncos 1 to 12, Cowboys 13+, Storm 13+, Sharks 1 to 12, Panthers 13+, and Titans 1 to 12. In terms of winners' confidence, I'm at about 75%. I think there's a couple games in there that could be tricky, like the Broncos one could be tricky, and the Sharks one could be tricky as well, because the Warriors could be a bit of a wild card. So about 75%. In terms of the margin confidence, I'm at about 65%. Don't feel like it's going to be a great one this week, so we will see. Hopefully it goes well. So that's going to be it for this video. If you have any predictions for round 20, let me know in the comments down below. Also, let me know how you got on last week. I do apologise for my awful croaky voice. I don't know what's happened, but it's suddenly just gone downhill and my voice just doesn't work anymore. But that's going to be it for this video. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.